Hi, gays.
Y'all ever heard of a ghost job?
No, Tree, we have not. What is a ghost job?
So, ghost jobs are these postings that employers like to post on like Indeed, Glassdoor, Jobby, or whatever have you, Craigslist, Facebook, of fake. Sometimes they're fake jobs, like the job position entirely does not exist, or the position's already been filled already or was never needing filling
Yeah, okay.
in general. And like they're doing this to gather, well, I could give you the reasons why they're doing this, but none of them are really any good reasons or any ethical reasons for that matter
No.
for them to be doing this type of situation.
And what all this is doing is basically just saturating the job market. Yeah.
Yeah, and making it like it absolutely shit,
To try and get a job, like.
especially if you're trying to get into like an entry level
Yeah.
um job that needs 20 years of experience for some fucking reason.
Or a master's degree.
Like
What's the point?
what is the point? But anyways, but yeah, they just make the job post, like the job market in general, just absolute fucking shit.
hmm
Let's have a look at it.
Okay, so Tree, what has your experience been with? Let's start with the hiring process, the
Mhm.
application process, because that's where all jobs start. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's been your experience?
Recently, I've shortened my name because my real first name is very ethnic.
Okay.
is very indicative of a BIPOC person,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
one, definitely. So I just recently shortened it, and I guess a little bit of background. I've been working for a long time.
We've been working for a hot minute.
For a hot minute. Dolly Parton would be proud and sad
Yes, we do this for Dolly.
at the same time of the amount of times of how long I've been working. But I don't know if I've seen any indicators of like, I don't want to say discrimination, but discrimination. But there are studies out there about saying like if your name is more Anglo-Saxon or like a little bit more palatable to the English
To the English
language,
language, yeah, to the English speakers, yeah.
yeah, you would get more of,
You had a higher chance of getting callbacks, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I haven't really done any like hunting for like big girl jobs like um recently, and when I did, I kind of just got one off the cuff because the company was desperate for a warm body that they can use.
Yeah.
But yes, but I don't know if I've had any in the application stage. Definitely, I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, that's the thing is that like you probably wouldn't know about it,
Yeah, and yeah,
not
exactly.
explicitly, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like in all the jobs that I've worked in, I made sure, like you actually have to put an effort into actually reading the resumes, because in um, one of the jobs that I was in, I had to go read, or I was part of a hiring spur that we had,
hmm
and yeah, I made the effort to actually read the resume and not just the name, because I know that those things do happen.
hmm
And thankfully, I don't know if that's thankfully or not, but the company that I was working for wasn't using an AI scraper.
Or automation to it. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's funny that you mentioned that because a study that I read suggests that like the levels of discrimination, mind you, this again depends on like sample size and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The study that they did, there wasn't like a significant decline in specifically discrimination against Black Americans
Yeah.
in terms of their resume.
Mhm.
There hasn't been a significant decrease in like that kind of like hiring discrimination.
Exactly.
Even with, and actually even especially with, the automation and the AI programs that a lot of companies use.
Yeah, a lot of
right?
bigger companies use. And like, yeah, in my company when I was part of the hiring team, we didn't have an AI thing. We didn't like they gave us like some of them they emailed us their resume or some of them they just handed it in because it was like a little bit of like a word of mouth. So I had like a pile of like physical resumes, and I would make sure to not look at the name. I would make sure to look at what the experiences was and what were we looking for
Right.
at the specific time, because I understood and I knew that at that time bias is working is very much working in that field. It's like,
Mhm.
if you don't like the name, why would, if you can't even pronounce it, why would you even call them back?
Right.
Right? So like that's my first hand experience with the application. I wasn't
Mhm.
the applicant, and like I don't think a lot of people, if you are the applicant, you won't really even know if you're getting.
Discriminated against. Yeah, no, for sure. It's not like companies even take the time and effort to like say, "Hey, sorry, we're moving on with someone else."
Yeah,
Like
they
it's
just
very
ghost you.
rare. They just ghost you nowadays.
Right? And like,
Yeah.
can we bring back the 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 decline letter? Because like,
Yeah.
as much as it does hurt, at least I know that I'm not waiting on anything. Like on.
Yeah. Or that I applied to a ghost job and they're not gonna call me back anyway.
Exactly.
To bring it back.
Eh,
to,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Right? And like, yeah, for me, that's, I'm more of the other side of the application system, and
Mhm.
it was more for me. I understood that there are biases working against me, so I consciously worked on it not
Yes.
to fall into those traps,
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
so to say.
Which is good because, like, again, I was gonna say that like you're more the exception, unfortunately, rather than the rule.
Yeah, rather than the standard, not really the rule, just the standard. Period.
Yeah, it's good that you say that you're on that side of the the app, like the employer,
Mhm.
like the as part of the hiring team. Um, like because of course I wouldn't know if I've been discriminated against in my job applications because then
Yes.
you don't know.
Yeah.
I probably have been.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I kind of have a feeling, especially he knows my first name.
Mhm.
You've seen my first name.
Yes.
There's probably like a 56. I want to say 60% chance that I probably have been discriminated against, and I want to say a good chance of that is like them not even understanding that they're overlooking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Or like it's just the AI or like whatever scraper that they're using
Hmm.
looking for those keywords,
Yeah.
and it's not on your cover letter, it's not on
Right.
your
Yeah.
resume.
Hmm.
And like that's another thing that you have to think about the application system is like, what keywords is that fucking bot looking for?
Yeah.
And do I
Exactly.
have it?
And is there any way to put it in there without lying outright?
Exactly, right? Because like if you, I've seen like the job market is so shit that I'm seeing like these people like, oh, these are the key these are the these are the key words that they're looking for like these specific bots and shit
Mhm.
like that. Put it on your like put it as a footer, but the font is white.
Ah,
So
okay. So
that,
you're being covert about it, even if
yeah.
you're outright lying. Ah, okay. So that brings me on. Actually, I want to talk about too, because we talk about like, of course, the cultural aspect of it, like
Mhm.
the discrimination in terms of like ethnicity or nationality, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk about maybe have you had any experience with like any applications that required a personality test or like a cognitive
Oh my god,
assessment?
yes.
Okay.
And those are really finicky for me because I always feel weird when I fill them up.
Okay. Weird. How?
Because like, why do you need to know this? Especially
Mm.
if the job position is so drastically different
Like it
from,
doesn't require whatever
yeah.
personality or behavior
Like if
thing
it's not
that's
anything that's personable, if it's something in like in the back end, or like it's
Mhm.
something like administration wise, if you're thinking about like how do they work, again, this is just me talking about my experience in the hiring aspect of it, is like I never really understood those because it doesn't tell me anything.
Right.
Those personality tests don't tell me anything.
Hmm.
And like for me as a person, as an applicant, it doesn't tell you anything about me because I can just lie on that shit.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And I feel I don't know. I feel like they might be using it to see if they're gonna work well with the team. If you want to see if they're gonna work well with the team, then fucking get them on, like during the interview, introduce them to the team.
Yeah.
get them to sit down with the team and have a
Mhm.
conversation with the team. That's the best way to do it.
With these personality assessments or cognitive assessments, do you ever get the feeling that they would be ableist?
I 100% feel and
Okay.
get the vibe that they are ableist
Right.
because those questions put neurodivergent people at a disadvantage. 100%, especially if they're on the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
because again, people in who has autism, they're going to be in a spectrum, so some of them they might take the questions too seriously,
Mm.
answer it wrong, or like quotation marks wrong,
Yeah.
or they might answer it in a sense that like they're taking the question like quite literally, and none of the answers provided to you because they're not open-ended questions.
No, that's like a multiple choice kind of thing.
Yeah,
Usually.
and none of like what they would do or like feel or whatever, it's not in the choices. So
Mhm.
that means they're just gonna be so fucking stressed out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's gonna put them at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking of too is that like when you were saying about like taking the question seriously or taking it literally, they might also just be like incredibly honest about it and like pick something that the company does not like want in their professional setting, whatever that may be.
Exactly. Right? So like these tests, like these cognitive and personality tests, I genuinely believe it's just like covert albinism. Ableism.
Ableism. Yeah.
Ableism, because like it quite literally is, because if you want to know the person, why
Why give them
personality
a
is not going to tell them that.
no? Why give them a rigid questionnaire when you can just talk to them? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like just ask for my MIB that fucking point, bitch. What?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, and like even with like we circling back to the automation and the AI tools, it's like
Mhm.
even with because it's been touted as like an objective, like bias free
Absolutely fucking not.
machine, and it's like, well, first of all, who built the artificial intelligence?
Absolutely fucking not.
Artificial just generally means it's man made.
Exactly. And like as somebody who's going into the tech field, pray for me, y'all. um, I have so many opinions about AI, and like again, there's like different kinds of AI as well.
Mhm.
There's like generative AI and there's like assistive AI where
Yep.
it just assists you and stuff like that. A lot of people are like confusing the two, and like which is understandable because AI, let's be honest, become a buzzword,
Yeah,
especially
especially recently.
in like what, just the past year or so.
Pretty much.
Holy fuck, AI has become um AI has become such a buzzword, and like at the very essence of it, AI is just a compiler.
Yeah.
It's a learning bot, yes, but it's a compiler. It just compiles data from all other databases and like gets the medium or like learns it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and basically this puts it into a neat little package with a little bow.
Exactly, right? And like if all of the data from the databases you're already getting is flawed because it's from flawed people, people who have biases, people who aren't objective, even if they do say that they're objective. Here's the thing, I can never say that I'm 100% objective. Absolutely fucking not.
No, we're too opinionated for that.
Yeah.
Y'all know.
Like absolutely fucking, I will never be 100% objective
No.
about these things. And like what makes you think that AI, like the product of that data set, is gonna be objective and like bias free?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like AI is not objective, it's still gonna need the human touch because like connecting to another person cannot be replaced with like binaries.
No, and at the end of the day, again, it's the people who hire other people. It's not the AI bot being like, you're hired.
Exactly. Right? And like people are saying this is more efficient. I'm like, how?
Well, exactly. That's the thing is that like on principle, you're doing two steps when it should have been one. You're
Exactly.
you're putting in the data through your AI thing, and then you have to vet it with a human person anyway.
So like why not just start with a human person anyway?
Hmm.
And just build them properly.
Oh yeah, because I think people get hung up on like the speed and efficiency
It's
of
not
it.
efficient.
No.
Again, I think it's because people don't understand that like, and I think it's more of the gen pop not really realizing what AI is
No, and how it works.
and how it works.
No.
So
Slow
like
everything on.
they think it's objective, and I'm just like, it's 100% away from being objective and like being bias free, because no person is bias free. So that means you don't have the perfect data set
No.
to work off of
No.
already to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's working with old data too.
Mhm.
Like data from the past
Yes.
where we don't have any, some of the people would say it wasn't as PC.
PC. What could the new buzzword for that be in recent times?
It wasn't as woke.
It wasn't as DEI.
Exactly, right?
Jesus
So
Christ.
again, it's already AI as a tool is already behind when it comes to social changes.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that you guys have to understand, especially when it comes to job applications. You can use it as a tool, but
You can't
to a
replace.
detriment.
Yeah, you can't replace the human person both behind the application and in front of the application. That's not how that works.
Absolutely. And again, like as much as um, actually my one of my instructors told us not to use AI. Well, first and foremost, don't use AI. Period. It's
No.
not good for the environment.
No.
Second of all, it's like the applications that we use, sometimes they do like kind of like, how do you say this, like an autocomplete for the code line of code that you're writing.
Mhm.
He says don't use that because sometimes you're gonna get into the habit of it.
Yeah.
But that's not like, if that's not where you're going to, you're gonna get a habit of just, oh, you just auto complete it for me. It's like
Mhm.
that's not the line of code,
Right.
right? So even in the school setting, it's actually a mixed bag, because sometimes AI, one of my courses actually encourages us to use AI.
Oh, yes.
Well, they don't encourage us. Like
Well-
for one of the activities, ask ChatGPT this prompt, and then I'm just like, can I not?
Yeah. What if I just poured this entire water bottle on your head?
Yeah, that's that. I think that's a little bit better. But yeah, it's a doozy being in the tech sphere right now.
Oh,
That's one
GG.
thing for sure.
All power to you, man.
Anyways, getting away from AI because I have a lot of opinions about it.
Yeah, we can come back to that one a little later on.
Yeah.
So then we touched on a little bit of the PC or the DEI solutions to it. What specifically actually would we need to be doing, or what have we done in terms of making sure that the biases and the discrimination is kind of kept to a minimum, even though it hasn't been statistically speaking.
Oh, that's such a loaded question to fucking
Yeah.
answer, because like it goes down to the person
Mm.
and it goes down to the HR team that you're hiring.
Right. And it goes on even to the company and what their
and
values,
like
right?
what their values are and what they're willing to invest in.
Mhm.
Because you can do all of these, you can ironically enough, somebody in my somebody close to me, they didn't understand what microaggressions was until they went through kind of an HR course, or like
Okay.
they're in HR, so like they had like a woke course. Short, that's the best.
Well,
way
yeah,
for
it's
me to
professional development, right?
Yeah, so they didn't understand what those are, right? So unless the company themselves is willing to invest in having a proper HR team where they understand what biases are and like what
Mhm.
they understand that they're never going to be 100% objective, then we're kind of like shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Here, right? Because like that's the only solution that I can see, at least. Is like it whittles down to the company and like if your company aren't providing those courses for you, aren't providing resources for you to like actually understand your biases and your you being not objective. I forgot the word for it.
Subjective.
Subjective.
Yeah.
Is like it falls onto the person themselves
Yeah.
to check themselves.
Yeah, which is a double-edged sword, that one.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like
Right?
well, especially nowadays, because like think about the current political climate. DEI itself is kind of like
It's
under attack.
Yeah, and it became a blanket word for black people, and I'm so fucking confused about it.
Yeah, for some reason. Well, here's the thing: is that like anyone who like touts that like someone's a DEI hire doesn't actually know what DEI
Yeah.
stands for. So for everybody here, come closer, closer, closer,
Too close.
a little bit. Okay, we're good. So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So
And the loudest people against DEI is the people who, like, systematically.
have all the power. And like the reason that DEI exists in the first place is because of all the people that
Because
are
you guys were hogging
loud
all the
complaining.
fucking. When I tell you I'm gonna be more hostile, I'm gonna be more fucking hostile.
Yeah, and like, and see, it's these same people. Funnily enough, are like, oh, it has to be merit based, as if DEI was.
Doesn't look at merit to begin with.
Yeah, because like, hey, here's the thing. We're circling back now. We can circle back to our discussion on the cultural ethnic aspects of
Yes.
discrimination at the hiring process.
Mhm.
The whole point of DEI is so that like the hiring manager, let's say his name is Tom. He's some white dude, and he looks at a resume by Abdallah. Let's put an incredibly ethnic name to it. Um,
This
DEI
political
is
app.
DEI is there so that Tom doesn't immediately look at the name Abdallah and throw out the resume.
That's the entire
That's
point of
the entire.
DEI.
That's like if you want to boil it down to that, that is the company's policy being like, Tom, you cannot throw Abdallah's resume out until you read his qualifications.
It's literally just making sure that people have a foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
They're not letting them into the fucking room yet. It's just opening the door wide enough so that you can look at them.
Yes, exactly.
That is it.
And the funniest thing that I read like within the past couple of months is that like the people most affected actually by DEI being like attacked and like dismantled
White
in
women?
these certain companies, the white women,
Exactly. Exactly.
the Karen,
Karen.
Karen,
You dug this fucking grave, Karen. You dug it deeper than 6 fucking feet, Karen. We're going to the mantle, Karen. I'm confused.
Circling back to why do people think DEI is a bad thing, even if like beyond the I'm racist, but like I don't want to say so, but I'm just saying it because like I'm saying I hate DEI.
It's peace.
Mhm.
Is the I have a black friend card up, but like
Pretty much, and
Like,
I think, and also based on what I've been reading, is that like I think the backlash stems from that like that some systems of DEI that's been implemented has maybe not outright, but like I think people assume that there's like a quota system. Like they have like companies have to meet a certain percentage of they have to hire this many
because of
BIPOC
optics.
because of optics. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah. I think that's where some of the backlash has stemmed from. It's difficult to say that it's absolutely stupid or absolutely
Because there is some truth to that.
and there's some nuance to it too because like yeah you want it for the optics but at the same time
If that person is like not verified, but like qualified for the job position, then like
you're supposed to hire them.
why not hire them? Because
Yeah.
you can't pronounce their name. That's a stupid ass fucking.
Yeah, and like per chance that like somebody who is white has the proper qualifications, that doesn't mean you skim over them.
Exactly.
I think that's what they're
that's what the job. That's what the job interview is for.
find out if you're shit or not.
That's literally what it's for. If Abdul is better than John from down the fucking street,
I'm going to take Abdul. Yeah.
like that's what the interview specifically is for.
Yeah.
Is you talk to the candidate or
And
the
you
applicant,
and you find out whether or not they're actually bullshitting their way through their
exactly,
application.
exactly. It's just like, do they just have the buzzwords that
Mhm.
let them get into the door because the AI is fucking shit?
Yeah.
Or do they actually know what they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the job interview is for. That's what the human touch is for.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's really funny to me that like the very same people who are like
Immediately against it.
immediately against DEI, they're the very same people who are like all these immigrants are stealing our jobs, and it's like,
The immigrants are stealing your job because you're not applying for them.
and also because you're not fucking qualified. Do you think the black woman doctor got her job because she was a DEI hire? No, it's because she went to fucking medical school, Jason.
And she
You-
has
you
better
fucked around-
qualification than
You
you.
fucked around, like you took a gap year and then just continued that gap year for the rest of your life. working in retail. You're not a fucking neurosurgeon, Josh.
You're not gonna get the fucking job, dude. Like, check your egos, dude. Oh my god.
Oh, the gumption, the audacity. Anyway,
Like, it's wild. Anyways, we're moving on because I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
yeah, I wanted to close this off with a short little quote that I found on the Canadian Lawyer magazine website of all places. I brought the quota system up because there are some people. I'm going to quote Somare Ellis, who's a lawyer, presumably, since she's being interviewed for this. In Canada, she says that DEI policies are not tied to any quotas or any sort of thing,
Mhm.
and that um, it's more along the lines of because Canada has a multiculturalism like act within the
The
Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
the
Like
actual-
it's enshrined
It's
in
actually,
our
like-
constitution
It's actually in the Constitution.
that we are a multicultural, and that like basically what Summary Ellis is saying is that like DEI is more naturally enshrined in Canadian values.
just because of the amount of people that we have that are not white.
Yes, exactly, and the amount of immigration and the image that we have of being an open like nation to immigration. Yes.
An actual melting pot is what you're telling me.
Yes, no. But like yeah, and like I think that's also part of like what the backlash is stemming from is that in the US that's not particularly enshrined in their constitution,
Yeah,
the
no.
multiculturalism that Canada has, right?
Exactly.
So I just wanted to end off with that and like say do a little bit of a contrast for why this sounds like such an American issue, because it is.
It is an American issue that is becoming a global fucking issue
Because
because
everybody measures their dick against the states. Because they are unfortunately the fucking yardstick we measure our dick size by.
yeah, apparently they're still one of the biggest superpower in the world. So like, what am I supposed to do about it? Yeah. Lord help me.
All right, so moving on from the hiring process, congratulations, you've landed a job. Hooray!
Yay!
You're now-
Servitude.
A life of servitude under capitalism, baby.
Based on how we're going until you fucking die, dude. What's retirement? Those are for chumps and no 1%.
For the woke leftists. Oh Jesus! But anyway,
I'm gonna be working until I die.
yeah, pretty much. And like, so yeah, now you're in a job. You don't have to go through the miserable hiring process anymore. Why is it still miserable for you?
Wages.
In a word, basically. So there is that. I think of it as like a catch-22.
Yeah.
It's like all of these positions, particularly entry-level ones, that you need to get your foot into the door.
You have the
wherever,
20-year experience
and your master's degree at like 5.
and like your
Um,
doctorate and everything.
yes.
Congratulations.
But then like the trouble is it doesn't fucking pay enough. It just doesn't fucking pay enough for you to
Yeah. Oh,
be alive.
oh yeah.
Like you get your entry level job, hooray! You've got your stepping stone towards like one day you'll be whatever the fuck, whatever you want,
A team leader, whatever.
Yeah.
Management.
Whatever your ambitions lie. You're now here, but then you're still not. You're like suffering still. In
Yeah,
terms
you're
of,
still
like,
doing paycheck to paycheck, which a lot of
Basically.
people are,
A lot of people are.
and like they don't, and like sometimes they don't even realize it. Cause like fun fact, I used to never like I actually moved out of my parents' house and I moved back into my parents' house so I can focus on just going to school.
Yeah.
So when I was living by myself, I didn't realize that I was living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
100%. I did not realize that was happening.
Well, because like I think it's because like you're in the mindset of okay, next day.
No, essentially,
Yeah.
that like the only because I think at that time the only biggest bill that I had was rent,
Right.
and at that time it was like $1,000 already. That
This was a few years ago, so it's probably
so
gone
it's
up
a lot
since.
higher.
So it's
I
probably
looked
gone
it
up
up.
since.
I looked it up. It's like what 1,200 or something right now for that same
Yikes.
building that I was in before,
Yeah.
and that. I think it's even higher than that because of inflation. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But yeah, it's like because I was basing my, at least for me specifically, my paycheck on the biggest bill that I had to pay per month,
Yeah.
and that is the rent. And rent was already at the time I was getting paid bi-weekly. One of my week's rent is
One of your week's paychecks is basically your rent.
yeah.
Yikes.
Exactly.
That's just rent.
That's
mind you.
just rent. That's just like if something happened to the car, I didn't even fucking know. Like that, I didn't even imply like the fucking internet, the fucking like phone bill, and
Mhm.
like that's not factored into it. Like I did like savings and shit like that, and like at that time I was paying for student loans, so like that was not factored in
No, yeah,
into it yet.
yeah, exactly.
And like at the time, again, I did not realize that. Oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah.
how fun!
Not until
Oh,
you got back here, right?
no,
Yeah, no, exactly.
no, not until I got myself like I got out of that like
Mhm,
situation. Like
mhm.
I moved back into my parents, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's like a slap in the face.
yeah. Cold water to your head, and like, I wanted to like going back to the catch 22 is that like your wages aren't keeping up with like how the economy is going and how things are getting more expensive, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like you can find like any study that goes back like to like the
Like even like 5 years ago.
like, even 5 years ago, yeah, like wages
Before COVID.
even before like the pandemic or lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
is that like there's such a disparity between what you're actually the median income and versus like the cost of things, and like the gap is widened, mind you. Like
Exactly.
the consensus is that it's widened and not in the consumer's favor,
Yeah,
not in the normal person's favor.
and like I feel like, let's be honest, we're all going into another recession.
I feel
Or
like
we're already in.
we've
We,
been.
well, where we're living, we're already in a fucking recession.
Yes,
Where,
yeah, yeah,
or at least me and Migs are based out of. We're
yeah,
already in a recession, more specifically for other aspects
yeah.
of the economy than others.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I keep on just thinking about the 2008 recession,
Yeah.
and
Well, because that was the big one in our lifetimes, right? That
Mhm.
everybody talked about that we didn't really understand much
yeah,
until
and like
later.
I asked my mom about it. I'm like, how was the 2008 recession for you? It's like I didn't really feel it.
Mm.
And I think that just speaks to how privileged I was, at least back in 2008. That like, at least for us, we didn't like
It wasn't a make or break for, yeah, you're
for a
right.
lot of people.
No, but like, yeah, but anyway, it's like long story short, wages haven't been keeping up with like the cost of living
Mm-hmm.
basically, and so that enable or that like forces people, especially in these entry level positions or the lower positions, whatever,
Yeah.
to look for better paying opportunities
Oh fuck.
higher up the ladder. But then because they vacate those entry level positions, then those
The entry level positions is open again.
is open again, and then people are now emboldened to look for higher paying jobs right from the get go, even if they're supposed to start at the entry level positions.
Yeah.
So you have all of these entry level positions that nobody wants to pick
Because
up
it's not gonna
because
pay the bills.
it's not paying enough. And actually, I have a story about because like where one of the places I work at, I work 3 jobs. Hustle.
Foreshadowing.
But like, yeah, one of the places I work at, there's this one particular position. It's a team leader, supervisor kind of position,
Management.
kind of, because
Sub
they're
management.
they're in the back area where they do shipping and receiving and like dispatching for deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's their title covers both of those sections.
That's a lot to cover.
I know, because like dispatching alone is a lot.
Yeah,
It's very
shipment and-
demanding.
yeah,
Shipping and receiving.
receiving.
Well, I mean, technically
Fuck.
speaking, they just leave them alone. But like to have them both under
Yeah, under your
officially
job
is a
position
lot.
is like
Guess, sorry. Guess how much. Guess how much. The like between minimum wage now here where we are versus the position. How much do you think
minimum wage.
the delta is? No, but I'll give them credit. Well, it's not minimum wage.
Is it $1 above minimum wage? Is it $2 above? It's that's not enough for 2 job positions, dude. And like that's the thing is like these companies are not keeping up with the fact that like the workload of one person. If you're gonna give like one person 2 workloads of 2 separate positions, you have to pay them for that for
For that.
those 2 jobs essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
And like again, this is the position in that particular workplace that has the highest turnover rate. I've literally in the past, I want to say 6 months alone, we've had 4 people in that position. All of them like let go, or like let the position go after the longest I've seen was maybe 2 months.
Because it's a crazy position to be in. You're doing shipment and receiving and dispatching. Dispatching alone is already like,
It's such a headache.
and like as somebody, I was sort of in dispatch. I did scheduling
Yeah.
for like, so it's something similar to that because I was essentially dispatching people as well because it
Yes.
was a community based program. So essentially, I was a dispatcher.
Mhm.
That shit took the entire day because shit
Yeah.
be
Should
happening.
be happening.
Like shit always fucking happens,
Mhm.
especially in our city.
Yeah.
Once one minute the street is open, you
The next
blink an
minute,
eye is fucking closed.
There's a sinkhole.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So like dispatch alone, when you say dispatch, I'm just like, no, that's one person. That's
No.
one entire person's
And
job.
not for $2 above minimum.
Fuck no, with no fucking benefits or
Well,
anything.
they're benefits. It's a full-time position, but still,
But still, like,
not for $2
you
above
better be
minimum.
going into my 401k or some shit like
know, right?
that. Like, what?
Whatever's left of it after Doge.
Exactly. Exactly. But, like, $2 above minimum is still bullshit.
Nope.
For a two-person job?
Nope. And I've been timing how long it takes corporate to realize that they're not gonna get a permanent person for this to fill
Because it's two
Because it's-
positions!
effectively. Yeah, all these entry-level positions are going. Would that then facilitate? Oh, you should probably go back to school to get a better education, to better your chances of going up to the next level.
Ironically enough, that was the thing that I went to without diving too much into trauma. It's like I went back to school because I wanted to get a better paying job,
Right.
right?
And how does that work out for you?
Not really well because the job sector went to fucking shit.
Okay.
Within the span of 2 years, I'm confused. How
Uh,
y'all do that, bitch?
How did y'all move the goalposts again?
Again.
Like that's the thing too, is that like the studies that I've read on some of these articles that we've been reading for this episode is that like they did say that it, funnily enough, again depending on sample size, et cetera, and other factors, that like they studied that like higher education actually decreases your chance of your getting like a higher paying job. Funnily enough, like that's not a guarantee of like being able to land the job or something like that.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a study that I saw in one of the Time articles that I read that there's actually less of a chance that you get called back. Like, like the what was it? 51% of like people with like bachelor's degrees, like completed the interview process without getting a callback.
That's crazy.
I know, like especially versus 35% of people with a high school diploma.
That's crazy.
Like,
because,
what do you mean?
Because like there's been a push to like go get higher education, at least for us because we're immigrants. So
Well, that and like for like older generations, that their thinking is that like, oh, a higher education means higher qualifications, higher pay, whatever.
it's a very old timey way of thinking education that relates to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that type of like way of thinking and that type of sentiment really does need to get updated.
That
'cause, like,
no longer applies, really.
no, not at all.
No.
Especially since in the olden days, like you can buy a house within the minimum wage.
With one income, because
Exactly.
like the expectation was that the husband provides the income and then the woman makes the home.
Like, and that's the thing is like you can get a house and actually pay it off within your fucking lifetime.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is a lot of like older and like experienced workers are not retiring either because for one they really can,
Yeah, they financially aren't able to.
and for two it's not just like some of them they just don't want to because they're bored.
Yeah, there's that too, which like all
But
power to you.
That's a whole different
Yeah.
conversation. So we're gonna focus on the fact that like a lot of them really can't.
No, they can't really focus on retiring at all.
Yeah, because like especially if they are lucky enough to have a pension, the pension's not enough to be able to live off of.
Yeah, just basic living expenses. Even just either eats it up completely or
just like that's why a lot of them are like going back into the workforce as part timers.
just to supplement their pension. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, and then there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we move on. It's like there's in that same Time article, I wanted to talk about this one particular instance that they quoted from. His name is Michael Cook. Don't know if that's his real name. Haven't had any updates since. He he was laid off from a gaming company in 2022, and according to him, he's applied to like hundreds of jobs since. And like just as a quick snapshot of like just the hoops and the barriers that he had to go through. Presumably, he's white. That's a very white name, but like even someone like him had a difficult time um,
Getting a job.
getting a job.
Yeah.
There was this one instance where he apparently, as part of the hiring process or the application process, a company had him do like an entire project that they then posted on the website without compensation, which is
That's
illegal.
illegal. That's stealing.
And I hope Michael Cook, whoever you are,
Sue 'em.
I hope you've sued them to the high heavens, and I hope they get bankrupted. Anyway,
Because like that is legal, and that's another thing is like a lot of these employers are trying to
they're trying to get this free labor off of
pull a
these
fast
applicants.
one.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in like creative fields like like I guess game design, graphics, like tech, software development, that kind of thing. So that's what I guess, especially if you're in those fields, something to watch out for. Yeah, that this kind of like encapsulates even someone supposedly as privileged as a white man. We're presuming he's white. Sorry if you're not, but like someone with that kind of privilege, even they're like struggling to get a job.
Exactly.
And that just leads to like there's just this increasing need, especially with the wages like not keeping up. There's this increasing need to have more than one job to even just like maintain the lifestyle they're living, even if it's not something super extravagant.
Yeah,
right?
and that's kind of where hustle culture comes in. Okay, so hustle culture, right? I think everybody has heard of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because there's been like a big boom about hustle culture, especially after the pandemic.
Well, especially among young people too. It's Chad on Facebook being like, "Good morning, rise and grind," but like unironically.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Yeah.
girl.
And it's like, no, I will take eating berries in a field. Thank you.
So okay, like just for the sake of definition, so like there's no clear definition of like what hustle culture is because it's kind of like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, and
Really?
like it's more of like if you see it, you know what it is, kind of deal.
Yeah. So, but a common theme across everybody who's trying to give a fucking definition on it is that like it's just the want a continuous what is it, a continuous want for more.
Yeah.
Like more hours, more prestige, more power, more
Mhm.
money,
Mhm.
right? And there's also like an air of arrogance.
Yeah, being like, if you're not, it's those ones where it's like, if you and your circle aren't talking about your finances or crypto or whatever when you're 25, you got the wrong crowd. It's those annoying
And,
chunk fucks.
and like and here's the thing, the hustle culture has always been around because again, recession.
And people needing to like make money.
Exactly,
Right?
right? But like it literally like boomed
Yeah.
because especially after like one of I think it was a BBC article that I read, there was a boom on it after the pandemic because everybody was either quiet quitting their toxic environments because when everybody got reintroduced to like working remotely, there was a viable way of like having a work life balance.
Yeah.
And like save a little bit of money because you don't have to go drive. You don't have
to commute, and companies could like save on rent and that kind of thing.
And but they don't want to believe in it. But like, okay, sure. But yeah, so like, and like, what was born out of hustle culture is like, it's not just employees trying to get other jobs, but like the employers are also trying to like not monopolize, but like capitalize on the hustle culture
Yeah.
mentality when
And like basically just exploit the workers.
exactly right because like when one of the biggest red flags that you can look for in a work culture that has a hustle culture mentality is if they give you quote unquote amenities on work sites. So that means like any of those like nap pods that like those like Google had like.
I know. I was about to say, it's like if you look at an office and you think that looks like something that they copied from Google, that probably means they're operating on a hustle culture mentality.
Yeah, another one is childcare on site.
Yeah.
Anything that makes the workplace kind of look like a commune instead of an actual workplace, those are things that you have to look
Yeah.
out for, because that means they want to exploit every little hour out of you for their quote unquote betterment of the
Of the company.
company and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Because like we see it with people, and like I feel like a lot of people nowadays have come across somebody who has a very much hustle culture mindset.
They have like their 6 side businesses and like, oh, I don't have time on weekends or I don't spend time with my kids, whatever.
Exactly, right? And like once the pandemic hit and a lot of people were able to spend time with their families and at the same time still
Like
put in their work
Yeah.
hours, there was a viable site for work life balance. And again, that kind of like pushed back against a little bit against hustle culture, but not really.
Yeah,
'Cause let's be honest.
it kind of fed into it, really.
Yeah, it didn't it wasn't extended. It just evolved.
Yeah.
It just evolved into something else. But I kind of want to talk more about like what does hustle culture actually like do to a person, and like a lot of one common thing that you kind of see with these people is like again you don't have to like throw a rock anywhere and you'll probably hit somebody who has this type of mindset, right? Let's be honest. Or like online on Twitter, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why am I seeing somebody post that they worked for 90 hours and only got $1,000?
Like extra? Or
That's
just in general?
just in general. I worked
That's-
90 hours.
Isn't that like third world like poverty wages?
Yeah, almost. Like that's not a flex that you guys think that is. That's a work like
That should be a cry for help.
exactly.
Like,
And like,
not on Twitter, the Better Business Bureau. No.
seriously, who I don't know what they have in like Better Business Bureau is in Ontario. I have no clue, but like, but yeah. So I wanted to talk to more about like the mentality that they have is like they see themselves as go getters when like time and place, babes. A little bit of a nuance when we talk about what an actual go getter is.
Yeah.
And like basically these people are just like overworking themselves.
And thinking that like that's a good thing.
Yeah, and again, the fact that they have this mindset lets the employers
Take advantage of it.
take advantage of them to the fullest.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, "Oh, if you put in more hours, we can give you a promotion," and it's like,
or this is for overtime, whatever.
yeah, or like a 3% increase into your like salary, and like,
or like the most blatant one of them all, commission sales. Y'all ever been to a car dealership?
oh my god,
Jesus Christ.
commission never made sense to me at all in general.
Well, it's like it feeds into like the capitalist mindset of if I sell more, I get more. That kind of
Exactly. And like the wildest thing that I've kind of like this is kind of staring away from hustle culture like in employees or like in people in general, but kind of like in the US, servers don't get paid a level like they get paid on minimum
They get
under minimum because they get quote unquote tips.
Yeah, which isn't a guarantee.
Exactly.
It's never gonna. It's like a worse
That's a
version
hustle
of
culture mindset.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like a worse version of commission.
Exactly. And like in this day and age, who is actually tipping properly? These people.
No.
And like thankfully where we live, they still get paid and like tips.
Like, at least minimum.
Yeah, at least minimum, and tips are just tips that they can take home. That's why for me, I kind of don't necessarily feel bad a lot of the time because if I don't have money.
Yeah, it's like I need the tip.
But yeah, so for example, if I go to a U.S. state where servers still get on like don't get paid minimum wage, I don't know what the fuck it's called. Then of course I'm gonna have to pay like 20% tip because what I'm learning is that sometimes their tips actually get split to the line to the
With the line cooks.
some of the line cooks or some of like even like the dishwasher and stuff like that. People in the
like
back.
it's a pool.
Yeah, and like I'm just like, here's the thing: tips are fine if you're gonna split them, but if everybody's getting paid properly,
yeah,
right? If everybody's getting paid properly, then yeah, sure, it's a tip pool. But like, if it's not, then
that's shady.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like some of these people, I think they get paid like $2 an hour or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah, especially in like the poorer states. I think you're right.
It's
It's crazy.
crazy. That's crazy work. But yeah, that's like one of a hustle culture mindset, but in the
But out of necessity, like
yeah.
that's like what are you gonna do? Like rest on your laurels and like not make money? Like
Exactly. And like also hustle culture kind of like it's so harmful mental health wise and like that's kind of obvious. But one of the biggest one, and I suffer with this as well, but not because of hustle culture, but just because of trauma in general.
trigger warning.
Trigger warning. But it links your self-worth to like work related achievements, and like that's the biggest thing that you can kind of see. And that was the biggest pushback to quiet quitting.
Yeah.
That was like their answer.
Is that like, well, then what are you worth? And it's like, I am worth my weight as a human being.
Like the relations I've made, the bonds that I made with my family,
The impact that I have on the environment,
like and but no, in a hustle culture, in a hustle mindset, it's like if I don't get if I don't make six figures by the time I hit 30, I'm a failure. And I'm just like, whoa.
yeah, like hang on.
Whoa. First and foremost, there's not a lot of jobs that actually pays
Pump
that.
the brakes. Yeah, no, not everyone's gonna be a CEO with a salary of like 600 million.
Exactly. Like so like like it's so harmful, and like I'm sort of kind of glad that like hustle that type of mindset it's getting away, but at the same time it's just being like
This is being rebranded, honestly.
like yeah, it's just going on a rebrand on all of it. And another one of the it kind of rebranded, and like it kind of found its space found a space on the internet for hustle culture to really thrive in, and that's in LinkedIn. Like I don't know if you guys like for my school we kind of have to make a LinkedIn profile and shit like that.
I'm so sorry.
I know it's atrocious, just the showboating and like and it's Loki. LinkedIn's a little bit of like a cesspool
Yeah, I can believe that.
for people who are in management and HR and shit like that.
It just sounds like it just sounds like Twitter, but like professional.
Yeah, no, seriously, because that's where they showboat. That's where it's a professional site, quote unquote. But, like, let's be honest, it's really not. It's the work. It's a Facebook for workplace.
Yeah,
It's
exactly it.
it's literally, and like again, my program kind of focuses on LinkedIn because like that's where relationships
Like that's where networking happens.
yeah.
Right? Like
And
unless you do it in person.
yeah, but that never really works out. And LinkedIn feeds into those like work related insecurities by
Yeah.
like by the time I'm 30, I'm not making six figures, but like they like fucking Sam from HR is making six figures for some fucking reason. He's scamming you, by the way. Or
Yeah.
like Sam does not exist.
It's a ghost job.
It's a ghost post, and it's just it's really is like insane, and it's fucking crazy when you really think about it. When we were in the nitty gritty of work culture.
Yeah, no, that's like for us. That's like we can't wrap our heads around that. It's
I
like
cannot for
we
the life of me.
we be chilling.
Yeah.
To be fair,
And
but like still.
And like here's the thing is just like you should not like we should not be even working 40 hours.
No, I
a
mean
week.
that was the okay. We unions fought for that because companies wanted to exploit you more. They didn't want to give you weekends. They didn't want to give you just 40 hours.
That's the reason why 40 hours became a standard is because it's the humane option other
Back
than like
then.
fucking actual like slave labor.
Yeah, like it's free labor. Otherwise, that like companies that don't want to pay, especially because like even back then, especially when they did establish that, it was a lot of manufacturing, heavy industrial work.
So like very like body.
So intense physical labor, effectively.
Exactly, right? So like why are you trying to go above 40 hours? Like the ancestors did not fight for this. The ancestor wanted you to chill.
Yeah. What was it? What was that quote that I think it was one of the presidents. I study war so that my son can study law, so that their son can study art and philosophy.
And like that's a commendable way of like thinking about it, but like capitalism just has to get their
Rear its head and
grubby
everything.
fucking hands on fucking everything.
Yeah.
Like it's not again, it's not a flex to work 90 hours a week.
No, especially for not that much pay.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not. That just shows how like unsustainable
Mm.
like wages are
Yeah.
in general. Period. Like no one should be working 90 hours a week.
Like period.
No. Like 40 hours is already fucking pushing it.
Yeah.
Because all you have is like what? The evening to spend time with your loved ones,
Mhm.
or like if you haven't, god forbid, if you have any fucking hobbies,
Yeah.
you have to do it in the evening, but then you have to go to sleep early because
Because you have work the next day.
yeah,
You have
it's
your 9 to 5.
and what, you have 2 days. Wow, such a luxury.
I know. 2 days to what? Rest and recover, and then do your errands that you couldn't do during the week. Like what?
That's not feasible. That's not a sustainable way of working, and I genuinely can't wrap my head around how, like, I don't know, maybe because of like class consciousness or whatever the fuck, is just like should you should be mad that your parents had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like hustle culture just kind of evolved. First and foremost, found its space on the internet. Don't touch LinkedIn unless you have to, for the love of God.
Mm.
And second of all, it kind of just evolved into passive income.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads it into it a
Mhm.
lot because, like, again, it's like income, but you don't have to spend so much like time and brain power like doing it,
Which
right?
is false, but like we'll talk about it in
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. So like ideally speaking, it's like, oh, I'm making money while I'm doing other things to make more money, which feeds into that like hustle grind culture again,
Yeah.
right?
And like it's not everybody needs to be a millionaire. I'm sorry.
Who wants to be a millionaire? Not certainly not all of us. Hopefully.
Like what you said, that's what passive income is. It's like you don't put any mental or like actual physical energy into this thing and you just generate money. That's such a dude, what? Huh?
If
That
it sounds too good to be true, it
it probably
probably
is.
is.
It's just like it's literally the thought of like money grows on trees.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Exactly.
literally what they see passive income is, and this is like not the verbatim definition by the IRS, but they a paraphrase because the definition is actually too fucking long. Jesus fucking Christ. Trade or business activity that you don't materially participate in. That's what a passive income is. And ironically enough, we're gonna go into like the common passive income um, strategies are. The IRS doesn't actually see um
They don't recognize them as actual job positions.
yeah, like they like landlords are
Mm.
passive incomes.
Right.
Being a landlord is considered to be a passive income
Mhm.
when if you think about logistically what being a landlord entails
Yeah. Or should entail.
or should entail is
That's a lot of labor for it not
that's
being
a lot of participation.
for it being passive. Like we're passive.
Like what? When I say that hustle culture evolved into something else, into passive culture or into passive income, is like we saw that with the pandemic because everybody wants to spend time with their families, everybody wants that work life balance. But since wages aren't keeping up with the utilities, with the necessities,
The
or
bare necessities. Yeah, like the song.
like yeah, people are looking into these things, right? So like the pandemic also affected, like I feel like the pandemic was the catalyst to change hustle culture into let's look at
Yeah.
having a passive income.
Yeah, and like
Instead.
it's funny that you mentioned like landlords because like isn't that what people who own Airbnbs isn't that what they're
Yeah.
trying to do? That's the whole like gist of it basically.
Yeah,
So
exactly, right? And like okay, well, I'll give you guys a common I have a list of like some common passive incomes avenues that people like to go into, I guess. One of them is like, yeah, being a landlord or like just having real estate. Not everybody needs to be a fucking landlord. Not everybody has to be a fucking landlord. Another one is drop shipping. The biggest one is drop shipping. For those who don't know what drop shipping is you buy something in bulk for cheap for like in like Alibaba's the main site that they buy stuff on. Like you and it's like what 3 cents a piece and you buy 1,000 of it. So that's like what $300 or some stupid shit like that, and then you sell it for an upmark of it's actually $30 per item.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what drop shipping is. A lot of people also do what they call white labeling, where a company already has, for example, a product, and then you just slap your
Just slap your pretty little label on it.
and like call it your product when in reality
Someone else made it.
it's someone else made it. And then we're gonna go. The last three that I have are more geared towards the digital sphere. So a lot of people are doing meme pages
Oh,
because
like the. Oh yes, yeah, for the clicks in the games.
and like the thing is like the meme pages can just be adverts for gambling sites.
Steak.
Yeah. That steak is the biggest one right now. Another one is streaming. Also got a big boom recently. A lot of people are like streaming nowadays again because it's quote unquote a passive income where I'm just playing a game, people give me money. I'm like, there's like
They're still spending kind of the labor for it, but
yeah, and like there's still a lot of like back end things that happens in streaming that a lot of people don't see, right?
yeah, especially the higher level ones.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Like freaking Ice Speed Show. I forgot what his name is. He did.
Speed.
Yeah, Ice Speed. He did a tour in China.
Yep.
Like that costs money to go into
Yep.
these fucking places, dude.
Well, hey, I mean, apparently he's repairing international relations, so
Yeah, and like the itinerary, the logistics of it, you guys don't see that because like, why would you want to see that?
No.
Exactly, right? And a lot of like the last one is a little bit interesting. There's a lot of quote unquote courses.
Oh,
Yes,
the Andrew Tate. Here's how to be an alpha
Andrew
male.
Tate and
Yeah.
like and sometimes these are people who are just normal people who happen to get like a couple $100,000 like 100,000 followers or stuff like that, and it's like
I'll teach you.
let's be honest, when it comes to content creation and like influencers, it's lady luck that's giving you
All their opportunities. Again, to throw it back to which episode was it in season 1 that I mentioned the Mr. Beast comment of like for every 1,000 people who try and do the YouTube thing, there's one of him that
Yeah.
makes it.
exactly. It's one like it's not even I don't even know if there's a statistics for it just because it's so fucking random. It's truly just lady luck.
And if we're sticking with YouTube and like content creation in that like digital sphere, it's so oversaturated now.
Exactly.
nowadays. Like,
Right.
everybody's making content. We're making content for God's sake.
And John Boyd in one of I think it was a BBC article that I read, John Boyd, Boyd, that's Boyd.
Boyd.
Yeah, John Boyd. I forgot what your profession is. I think he's an economist. I'm so sorry, John. But he really put a good perspective into why a lot of people are going into passive incomes and not just for like keeping up with the utilities. Is a lot of people are playing catch up.
Okay, like post lockdown.
Not even not even post pandemic. It's just catch up to your parents.
Oh yes, yeah. That makes
Because when
sense. Yeah.
when our parents were like 30, didn't they have a? My
got a-
parents had a fucking. They built a house already. But yeah, so like he put into perspective that a lot of people are just playing catch up to their parents versus not even to their parents. Maybe it's your uncle, your grandparents, stuff like that. Because let's be honest, their economy as bad as the Great Depression was, at least you were still able to get the basic necessities to a certain degree.
And like there was that bounce back in the 50s anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, here's the thing. I don't even know if we're gonna have a bounce back after this fucking roaring.
Okay, here's the thing. I feel like there hasn't been a proper bounce back since 2008.
No, seriously.
Like every
It was
year
more
it's
of
like,
a band-aid than anything.
yeah, it was more like, oh, we're not in a crisis, but we're not exactly good.
Like,
Like,
right? So a lot of people are just playing catch up when it comes to
Mhm.
passive income. And another area, at least for me, is like passive income really does rely on exploitation.
yep, 100%.
Like it relies on exploiting. If you're a landlord, exploiting your tenants,
Mm-hmm.
either like if the the landlord special of like just painting everything,
Getting it over white. Yep.
or like if something's broken, choose like either you fix it yourself
Out of pocket
out of,
or.
or like like the landlord themselves fixes it, but like they do it in a shitty way,
Mhm.
or they pay for the cheapest person out there and do it like
Like
a,
ass.
exactly.
And then it breaks in 6 months anyway.
So like
If that.
exactly, right? Like for the courses doesn't tell you anything like
That
tangible.
or that like a normal person in the street wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Exactly.
Like how to
Right?
be an alpha male. Like what the one, you're not a wolf.
Two, wolves actually don't work like that.
3, you're a fucking moron if you pay $1,000 to some
And a subscription fee
for a
too.
subscription fee to a an alleged like human trafficker.
That's crazy work. There's a bunch of other like commentators who've done deep dives on like some of these courses, and like a lot of these video like courses that they offer are on subscription base,
Mm-hmm.
and they offer false promises about like, oh, I'm gonna um what did he one of them said, I'm gonna feature you in my video. Never happens.
Nope.
And a lot of the editings, like some of them, I'll show you how to edit. First and foremost, you have an editor. Like a lot of influencers have their own editors. I just need you guys to be like just Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. At least they're very much like
Transparent.
transparent
Yeah.
about like, yeah, editor, do this, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of these influencers, they do have their own like ghost editors
Mhm.
in the background.
Yes.
So
More ghost posts.
yeah, and and like half of the things that you would like to edit, you can probably just Google or YouTube that shit.
Yeah.
So like, why are you paying for something that you could have just like searched up so easily, other than like exploitation?
Yep. And it's not like the people that are charging these. It's not like they're the experts on it.
No, again, lady luck. That's the thing, is like not a lot of people, other than I think Curtis Connor, is very much like aware, and like at least a couple you like TikTok influencers when I was using TikTok almost religiously, is they would be open about like, I just got lucky, dude.
Yeah.
Like happenstance that like a random video that I was posting went viral, and now I'm
Yeah.
here.
That's the thing that people don't understand is that like now is the time that like you remember the old adage, the 15 minutes of fame. Now is the time that is actually like accurate.
Yeah, because unless you can like diversify within those 15 minutes of fame, that's it. You're
Mhm.
done. Nothing else.
You're that one hit wonder.
Exactly. Like passive income is like the antichrist of capitalism and
Yeah.
socialism. You know what I'm talking about? You know the imagery that I'm trying to put down?
Kind of.
Because it's like the truest form of exploitation.
Yeah, and like the most blatant form of it.
Yeah.
Really, on like a base, because like it's one thing for all these faceless companies,
Mhm.
unless it's Tesla, in which case you know Elon Musk, but like all these faceless companies without a name to it, that like you know they're exploiting you, but at the same no. Here's the thing too, is that like with passive income, except for like except for like real estate, everyone else is providing a non-essential service.
Exactly.
Right? Because like unless you're talking like about real estate or about like a corporation that
Mhm.
provides like food, hygiene products,
Mhm.
whatever,
Basic necessities. Yeah.
they're unfortunately providing necessities that you have to buy from them,
Yep.
which provides their business model.
Yeah.
But then it's not necessary for you to be watching PewDiePie on Twitch.
Yeah.
So
Like you can still watch him. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to give him bits or coins.
yeah,
Like, and like that's kind of like the thing, right? Is like again, it's the truest form of exploitation.
Mm.
Like it's modern day exploitation. like that's the business model of a passive income.
Yes, it's like a couple degrees away from being an out and out con.
Yeah, yeah, right. And like again, not everybody needs to be a business person.
No, my God,
I'm
please.
looking at like all the drop shippers and white labelists out there,
Not everybody's the venture capitalist. Please stop it.
and like it's really not. And you know what I hate the most is that not everybody who goes into like like into the minds of passive income is like actually money hungry.
Hmm.
Not a lot of them are. Let's be honest.
Mhm.
A lot of them are just trying to get.
They're just trying to get some income.
Yeah, they're just trying to get their basic needs met.
Yeah.
And like this is probably the safest or like the fastest way. And like let's be honest, but like it's not really the smartest way, but like
Or ethical.
yeah, or ethical way. But like there's no what is it? There's no,
No
ethical,
ethical
consumption
consumption
under
under
capitalism.
capitalism.
And that includes
Yeah.
right. And it's such a sight to see, almost because
Yeah.
like where can like if we're in the medieval times, where are you gonna see passive income other than the lords
Yeah.
who are owning
Well, that's the thing
farms?
is that like nobody else would be getting any income anyway. But
Exactly, exactly,
in medieval
right.
times. Also, we would have been executed.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
long
no.
time
Oh
ago.
yeah, I know. They're like witch,
Heretic.
or some shit like that. Oh yeah, no, I would have been dead.
Yeah.
But like, it's just sad
Mm.
to see, and it's all in the name of one, either to get ahead, or two, playing catch up with your parents.
Or I would imagine probably a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a lot of people is that they want to get ahead, but at the same time, it's because they're trying to catch up to their ancestors.
And like a lot of them, and I think it's just literally, you guys don't see, like it's the propaganda working.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
no,
but like
you
we-
really are not immune to it. I'm so sorry.
we're not immune to
We're
it.
not immune to it.
We're not immune to it, and it's like I feel like if you guys are gonna give a course, at least give a course to like see through propaganda or some shit like that. That would be helpful as hell. But like, yeah, all of them is just like it's just through propaganda, just so that you can actually don't see the fact that the main issue here is wages are not keeping up with the day to day life of
No.
people in today's age.
No, not even for the middle class anymore.
No, like, and that's the thing is like the middle class is getting smaller and
Once-
smaller and smaller, and I need you guys to understand the reason why the industrial era was such like economically such a really good thing.
It's
The
because
middle class
it
was
introduced the
born.
middle class and like it had them prosper. Again, the single household with the single income by the father, the husband, whoever, and then they had the house, the car, the pets, the kids.
And nowadays, if you want to do a business, you're probably gonna have to take out a business loan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, just the capital involved in just the overhead of it, right? Before you start anything, before
Like-
you sell your first thing.
Before you even to go into the logistics of like graphics, shipping, fucking
Manufacturing,
manufacturing, fucking what else is like
distribution,
the distribution, the actual product,
Mhm.
manufacturer,
marketing,
yeah, those all take time.
and
Those
money.
yes, and like you guys, I don't think a lot of people see that because they just see the TikTok business.
They just see the
influencers.
finished product. That's all they see. They don't see the behind the scenes stuff. They don't see the work leading up to it. They don't see the effort put into it.
Mm-hmm. And like I feel like a lot of people need to be more privy
Yeah.
to that.
Or at least like aware that that happens in the background.
And like be aware the fact that like the reason why you're wanting to go into a passive income and into like hustle culture is because again, wages are not keeping up.
No,
They're absolutely fucking not.
they're not.
So many people need to wake up and just see that when your great grandparent was working
It was because they could afford shit.
and with their income, they were able to actually live
Mm-hmm.
on that income.
And like thrive. And like build a family and build equity and build a home.
And That's another thing. A lot of people talk about equity. I'm just like, how are you gonna get equity with
At this
living
point, it's
paycheck to
negative
paycheck?
equity. You're getting negative equity at this point, bro.
How are you gonna get equity when you're living paycheck to paycheck, babes?
That's
The math
yeah.
the math's not mathing. I'm not the greatest person in math.
I'm a musician. I count to 4, and even I can see that that's bullshit.
So how are we gonna do this? All of this to say, we don't want to be nihilists. We're just being a realist here. This is the state of the world that we're living in, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you or me, him, everybody who's watching this are powerless. By no means you are powerless. You are never powerless, especially in a world like this. Okay? We are holding on to the thread of democracy, but it is still sort of there.
Yeah, and like the more it phrased, the more desperate you should be becoming.
Exactly. Right?
Um,
The more executive
the more
orders,
executive orders that bitch pushes out,
the more
the more
frustrated
y'all
you should
better
get.
be going out in the streets or resisting in some sort of way. It doesn't even have to be like attending a protest. It's helpful.
It's helpful.
It's
Very much
good
helpful.
to have your voice heard like that.
Mhm.
But there's also other ways and other platforms that you could use to resist effectively.
Exactly, right? And we do have some list of resources that we are going to provide you guys.
Mhm.
As always, it's going to be linked down below in the description, if you please. So we talked about a bunch of articles that
Mhm.
we kind of mentioned.
They
Are
will
all
all
gonna-
be in the resource link below. There's also extra articles there that we haven't necessarily quoted or talked about.
but nonetheless are important because it.
Yeah, it provides even more perspective on like all the issues that we talked about, trade war and tariffs especially. Please educate yourselves on that, and a couple of calls to action as well.
One is stay on top of your representatives.
Yes.
Be aware of who your representatives are.
Yeah, and
When we say
like,
representatives, we don't mean federal.
we mean we
Local.
start locally. Start locally, work your way up municipally, work
Mhm.
yourself up to provincial or statewide, county, whatever administrative divisions you have.
Province, whatever the fuck.
Honestly, and I say this with the most amount of like love and
Wake the fuck up.
with the most amount of love and respect for our public servants. They harass them.
Just harass them. Because they went into public service. They
Mhm.
went onto politics to serve you, to
Mhm.
keep you in mind.
You
Not
are
the lobbyists.
You are technically the boss of them.
Exactly. Not the
Not the other way
lobbyists,
around.
not the billionaires, not. No, you voted them in.
You are the constituent, and you therefore have a say in what their policy is going to be like. Because let's be real, most of these politicians, if not all of these politicians,
Lie.
they are an iron ring. They will bend and break in ways that you wouldn't even think possible just to get your vote.
Exactly.
So if you show them genuinely that you care about an issue, they will contort themselves into a pretzel if they have to.
Exactly. So that means harass. If that means harassing them, then
Harass the fuck out of their office. Like
It's-
email, call,
say sorry to the intern, but then continue to harass them.
Twitter. My God,
Oh my
if you
God.
want a cesspool, if you want something toxic, go right ahead.
Right. So,
Um,
but that's one of them, and the other one is also stay on top of politics, especially if what's happening.
Do not shy away from the politics.
Do
of
not
this.
shy
Like,
away.
if like, everybody likes to say, "Oh, I don't like to get too political,"
You're
I'm
already
sorry.
being political.
I'm sorry to say this. I'm gonna hold your hand. Come closer here again. Come closer. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Existence is fucking political, especially if you're the color of brown that I am, or if you're darker, or whatever. Your existence is fucking political.
Yes, you guys have to understand it. Everything and anything, especially in this day and age, is political. So that means where you put your coins, who you give it to, is also political.
As leading into that, part of our resource list will include, lists, and of course you can Google this and go on your own research.
Exactly.
But we'll have a list of like companies that
Bigger
have
companies.
bigger companies that have forgone with their DAI practices and
Target.
who you should not be giving your money to, Ford, as well as a list of companies that have retained their DAI practices
Costco?
despite scrutiny from the, let's be honest, the American oligarchy.
Costco. Okay, anyways. But yeah, so as a consumer, you are never powerless.
Never.
Yeah, especially under capitalism. Because you have to remember, under capitalism, money talks. So even if a person like me, my money can still fucking talk.
Whatever money we have left.
It's got a little bit of pennies, pennies in debt. But yeah, like still support local businesses for
Mhm,
one.
mhm.
Like,
Whatever in whatever way you can.
yeah, they're gonna be the ones who's probably gonna be hit the most with the tariffs. They're the ones who's gonna be struggling the most with the tariffs. So support local businesses for one. Just put a little bit more effort
Yeah, into finding out who actually stands for what.
for what you believe in.
What you believe in.
If you believe yourself to be a good person and you don't agree with non-DEI hires and or like whatever the fuck, then you need to put your money where your mouth is and actually
Literally.
literally.
Like quite literally.
So that means if that means boycotting, I know everybody's been boycotting and like for a good cause. So
And I mean, here's the thing: Starbucks has been posting net losses since like
what two going on 2 years now maybe.
yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, it started, of course, with Palestine,
Exactly.
and now it's like they sponsored the Republican National Convention before the elections. They were very vocally anti-union for a long time, and now it just came to a head because of the Republican National Convention and their sponsoring of it. So now, as we can see, whoever the fuck the CEO is has posted, "Oh, we've been net losses because of probably saying something about the woke mob or
Whatever
the fuck."
the fuck. But that's them trying to look for other wallets that they can tap
As a
into.
scapegoat for their own shitty behavior, really. And
Yeah.
like all this to say that like again, money talks. People have stopped going to Starbucks specifically because of these political reasons. You can also influence that.
You are influential.
Mhm.
I know it doesn't feel like it because like they have billions of dollars and but no one can really even fathom what 1 billion actually is. Even there's like we can put fucking metaphors and like how do you actually understand what $1 billion is? But you still matter.
Mm-hmm.
Your purchases still matter.
Mm-hmm.
Who you give your purchase to still fucking matters. So I think that's the biggest call to action that at least this little segment that we have for you guys is you need to advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Recognize your own individual power and to advocate. We'll say this a lot, and we have said this a lot.
We're gonna keep saying it.
We're gonna keep saying this a lot. To advocate for others, you must first advocate for yourself. To take care of others, you must first take care of yourself.
Exactly.
If your rights are gone, or if someone else's rights are gone, who's to say they're not coming for yours next?
And we're probably gonna deep dive into this further down the further down into the season, but we would just like to voice that we are standing next to our trans sisters and brothers and to the trans community. Okay, we are standing close to them because a society. I've always believed this, and I've always said this: a society is as good as how they take care of their most disenfranchised. So I'm gonna need you guys to 10 toes down or whatever the fucking lingo is anymore because I'm so fucking lost. I'm getting old. Lord Jesus. But yeah, it's something that we need to. It's something that we really do need to stand behind on and like grow a community. Like community is the one thing that's gonna pull us through.
And again, like I just said, when the administration, whoever the fuck, takes their rights away, they're coming for yours next. I need you to realize that like once their rights are gone, yours
is
are
gone
next.
as well.
If they can put Kilmar Abrego Garcia into a fucking gulag for no fucking reason,
Other than like looking,
with no due process and with the shitty MS-13 tattoo like photoshopped into that fucking picture. If they can do that to an American, he was a citizen, right? He is a citizen, right? If they can do that to a fucking American citizen based on the tattoos on his body, who's to say they're not coming next for you, despite your pale skin, if you haven't?
so I'm gonna need you guys to like lock the fuck in, as the kids would say. Yay.
Hey.
and yeah, you're just never really powerless. Harass the fuck out of them.
Mhm.
Harass the fuck out of them. And if you want your eggs to go lower, do research.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Also, watch for bird flu.
oh yeah, watch for bird flu. The CDC is getting defunded.
Yeah.
Or like almost defunded or something.
Basically gutted it at this point.
So
Please be wary
be
of
wary.
the eggs anyway.
Be careful out there, and I hope you guys just keep on chugging along because we're gonna keep on chugging along.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And we want you to chug along with us.
Exactly. So choo choo. But yeah, I guess that's it for this first episode of
Yeah.
the second season for
What a welcome back to the second season.
the
eh?
gays. I told y'all it's gonna
I
be
was-
more hostile. I told y'all. I gave you a warning. Why you gagging?
Gloves are off, babes.
But yeah, so this has been me, 3.
And this has been Migs.
We will see you in the next one. Bye.